Hello and welcome back to the Lenko Show. Alex Lenkowski here again with my brother Chris. How can you
Hello.
do? I was going to say I completely had like word vomit then. I couldn't even say how you doing. How's things going? Because you started your triathlon training now, haven't you?
Yes, I am.
Well, Ironman training. Sorry.
I think I'm coming into a month of doing all disciplines. So that the most recent introduction was obviously the swimming. So I've had a bad shoulder. Um, would you believe? Hear me out, people. Hear me out. Loo raises was the fix. Not the fix, obviously, but lateral raises was probably not the cause, but was when I first experienced it. And then my shoulder was bad after doing that. And then Lou raises after obviously a month and a bit of rest and not doing stupid stuff and stretching and doing internal and external rotations. 3 sets of 5, forced eccentric, Lou raises,
Do you
which
want
is
to talk
essentially,
people? Do you want to talk people through what a loo raise is?
yeah. So I don't know if you saw my arm position there. I was about to do that. Is a an extension of a lateral raise. So you come all the way through reduction, all the way to your top position, and you're trying to finish in your overhead. And you can see here, that is as far as mine will go. And if I can punch a little bit harder, but that's not going to be any good for me. But with weight, I was essentially using a little bit of momentum to help get it up. The idea being that I wasn't just using the strength of my shoulders to get it up, and then I was controlling it back down through range. Okay, now the first couple of reps was a little painful. I wasn't using heavy weight, by the way, 20s, no, fives. um, and 3 sets of 5, and it was existential pain eradicated.
So,
Better.
so what you're saying is that you actually worked through full range
Hmm.
and it got better.
Yes.
Huh. Now,
Now, I would like to add for the bonus for everyone here. When you initially create any injury or whatever, there's an acute phase where there's pain, there's probably tightness and stiffness, there's soreness, there's probably inflammation as well. I was not able to get full range for a while. In fact, I was barely able to get my elbow to shoulder height. And in fact, before I started with the loo raises um, on the day, I could just about get it through the range. I mean, your shoulder can do everything. It's got a lot of range, but it was still painful. I'd done internal and external rotations and been doing them with the elbow down to try and keep the shoulder relaxed. But yeah, the loo raises, as soon as I felt able enough to be able to go through that range and get there and not absolutely destroy the shoulder, I did, and it's helped big
that's
time.
that's very interesting because I imagine Joel Seedman's fix for your shoulder would have been to hold an eccentric isometric at 90 degrees in a lateral raise, and that would have made everything better. But it's interesting that you've pushed beyond that range and started utilizing full range movement. That's it's an interesting one. That could come in handy because today we are going to be talking about a little bit of myth busting, a little bit of fitness opinion, some general stuff that's out there at the minute, that being one of them. So we're just going to kind of dissect that a little bit and dig into it ourselves. And obviously, once again, if you're tuning in, thank you very, very much for listening. It's always good to see the figures, see the numbers that people are actually listening to this rather than just think, oh, I'm just sitting here having a conversation on my own, or well, with you, Chris, most of the time. But it is very good. I do hope you're all getting some useful stuff from this, and it is either changing your training, changing your nutrition, changing your mindset, even just motivating you a little bit temporarily, and ultimately, hopefully, helping you along the way through life at some point in some fashion, one way or another. So that's what we're here to do. And first step for that, your first calling is to go and get yourself a dry robe. Don't let cold stop you from doing what you love. There we go. There's a lovely little quote. Don't let the cold stop you from doing what you love. You want to go outside, go and do to be honest, being outside. I know I posted on this on Instagram a few times, but just going outside, being in nature, one of the best recovery methods you could have. One of the best recovery methods. Like sleep first, then that. That's my advice. So don't let the cold get in the way. Go and get yourself a dry robe. I massively needed mine at training the other week because it was stinking. Yes, Christopher.
Can I add a potentially philosophical idea to this?
Always.
So when I think of dogs, this is going somewhere. All right. Um, my experience with people is that, which is limited, they don't generally like the rain, and vitamin D is generally deficient during these wintry months when it's colder, it's darker, people have less sunlight, and they do that. First of all, yes, because there is less sunlight hours. However, because they don't like the cold and they don't like the rain and they don't like the wet. And nothing, Alex, on this earth upsets me more than a person who claims that their dog does not like the rain. And then you ask them, do you take your dog out in the rain? Knowing damn well that they do not. And they go, oh, yeah, 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 we walk all the time. And you're thinking, what I'm getting from this is you don't like the rain, so you don't take your dog out in the rain. And you get generations of people and puppies that don't like weather and then they all get sad and depressed over winter. And the fix is a dry robe, Alex. Do you know what I mean?
You know,
Get yourself a dry robe, get
I,
out, and you'll enjoy it.
I'm actually inclined to agree. So I was just thinking about this as you saying that. So I've had the privilege of actually training with some world-class dog trainers. Um, and like when I say that, I don't use that lightly. Like they are genuine world-class. Like they've been to the World Championships multiple times with multiple different dogs and represented at the very highest level. And one of them was talking to me about, he recently got a new puppy and he basically had this phase of, if he was sitting around at home, and obviously it's over Christmas, over winter, it's, conditions aren't great. As soon as it started to rain or conditions got really bad, he took his dog out, went and had a play, did some training in the shit conditions. So think about this, right? The dog's going out having a great time. Like it's doing its thing, it's getting fed, it's getting worked, it's playing a game in the rain. Number one, that then becomes normal. So horrible conditions then become normalized, and it makes it much easier for you to adapt. We've said this before about trees when they grow trees indoors, and you eventually take it out, plant it in a garden, boom, and it falls down because it's not developed that stiffness and strength to be able to withstand the additional stress put on it by, shall we say, the environment. So get used to it. Get used to the rough conditions. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable afterwards. I'm not suggesting you should live your life in misery the entire time, but have that contrast, have the ability to go to dark places and then get into your comfort gear afterwards.
It's also, if you get used to it, it's not miserable. You'll actually find that some of the most pleasant runs that you will ever go on will be in the rain.
Absolutely. Therapeutic, genuinely therapeutic.
Very. Yeah. There's not just nature didn't give us just, oh, we'll just give them the one season that they'll enjoy and the other three, maybe, maybe not. People decide they love autumn because of pretty colours. You can pick your perspective. It doesn't matter to anyone. Like
I
whatever
think
you
those,
decide,
I
you can
think
go
those
and enjoy it.
I think those people are sickos. If you're listening to this and you say that you like autumn, you're sick because that just means that you like watching everything die.
That's true.
That's what's happening in autumn. Everything's dying.
I think it's one step before attacking small defenseless animals.
Yeah, sickos.
Let's
Sick.
go back to fitness.
Anyway, good point. So head over to dryrobe.com to get your dry robe, and we let's get started on this. So first question. Can you outwork a bad diet? So this is from, should we name them? What do you reckon?
Yes, name and shame. If you're willing to put something stupid like that out there,
All right. Wannabe gymnast. Wannabe gymnast.
there you go. Says it all.
That's the answer. That says it all. You want to be, but you're not. This is what they've said. You can 100% outwork a bad diet. The people that say you can't have never trained like an athlete. Well, wannabe gymnast. One of the things that I can confirm for you is that the very top athletes actually eat incredibly well.
I mean, you can't outwork a bad diet. Let's move on. No, I think if you can be good at gymnastics or football or speaking Spanish or I don't know why I said speaking Spanish, but you can be good at something and have a bad diet, but you'll never be able to be as good as if you actually had good nutrition because of all of the other things aside from body composition that come with having good nutrition.
Yeah, I think this is like the first step to clarify. This is just what do we actually consider as being a bad diet? Like if you well, I suppose yeah, what do you actually consider as being a bad diet? Is it just eating trashy foods all the time? Is it eating the same food all the like for some people a bad diet is just eating the same thing every single day? Is it eating highly processed foods? Is it just overeating? Is it eating highly processed junk and sugary crap? Is it fast food restaurants all the time? Or is it simply like, I mean, would you even consider a bad diet as just being something that's completely unregulated and unstructured? Because I think a diet, in my mind, the language of describing a diet is something that is actually either prescribed or structured and organized in detail in terms of I'm going to eat X, Y, and Z at these different times, and this is my structure, and I'm going to follow that and I'm going to stick to that, and it's regimented. And then outside of that, yes, you've got your diet is generally what you eat, and then you've got that random variation. But I think if you were to say, I'm going to follow a specific diet, that is how it would look. You would have specific foods, specific times, and a definite structure to what you were going to eat and when. So I think in this context, could you get away as an athlete? Could you get away with eating whatever you want, completely unregulated in any quantity you like? What do you think?
I mean, to me, I just think I think most people would say that a diet is just what they eat. Like that's how I think that they would see it. And kind of what I think about this is if you have a bad diet, you probably can't outwork or even work to a high degree on anything because a bad diet, in my opinion, would suggest that you are lacking nutrients and vitamins and minerals, which means you're A, going to make bad decisions, B, you're going to underperform, and C, you're not going to have the mental capacity and therefore the physical capacity to be able to outwork. Like people eat really, really well and struggle to do what they need to do anyway. Why would you even try limiting yourself by eating shit?
Because I think the only people that I can really think of that are able to out eat or outwork a completely unregulated diet where they can eat what they want and as much as they want is probably in the military. Like if you think like when you hear about Navy SEALs going through buds and stuff like that, and it's like they've got a 1 mile run to the canteen, eat, then a 1 mile run back. And I don't know whether it's necessarily true, but I did hear at one point that someone had said, here we go, all anecdotal, but like in the chow hall, there is no conversation. Like it's get in, eat your food. No one talks to anything. Everyone's just eating as much as they can. And it's literally a case of eat as many calories as you can and get as much food in as possible. But if you think about it, that environment and what they're doing, they are training to be war fighters. They're training to be something completely different to an athlete, and they're doing it all the time. Like, and part of that, like their process is a beatdown. It's how long can you last and stick through this mentally as part of the selection. It's not a case of right, here we go, we're going to do a very detailed plan and try and tap on these things and gradually improve them all. That like it's literally a gut check, throwing as much as you possibly can at them. And let's be honest, the vast majority of them get broken anyway, mentally, physically, like barely anybody. Like the numbers that actually pass selection are minuscule anyway. So, and is it a long-term strategy for living and performing? I don't think so. So in terms of like high performance athletes for sport, I would feel very uncomfortable. I don't know about you, but I would feel very uncomfortable in saying to someone, eat what you want, eat as much as you want.
Yeah, I think across two domains, if you would say to someone, anyone can test this at home, think, right, eat whatever the fuck you want, however much of it you want, eat like McDonald's, whatever, then do a workout like shortly after, see how you feel. Okay, then have another one straight after that, see how you feel. You're obviously going to feel shit. You could then say, right, I want you to do it for a week and see how you feel. And then contrast that with doing it with good food. So properly fueling your workout beforehand. I don't mean pre-workout as in a fucking shake, fizzy thingy, supplement. You know what I mean? I mean like proper fuel a meal beforehand and then refueling after. Notice a difference in your performance in each single workout that will constitute to a totally different trajectory than if you were eating shit. The way that you feel and the way that you perform. Clearly, one is obviously better than the other.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not a fan of people who eat McDonald's like on game day or pre-training or anything like that. I don't feel like that kind of fast food is a useful or sensible way to go. But and I will caveat that with if it's in your routine and it's what you're used to, and especially if you're traveling and there's a lack of options, if you really need to do it, I ain't gonna stop anyone from doing it. Personally, it's not me and I wouldn't do it. I'd always try and find something more useful, better quality, proper nutrition before ramming that kind of stuff down my throat because I know like I respond very badly to eating that kind of food. Like I think the last time I had a load of chicken nuggets from McDonald's, I felt incredibly unwell. Like just really unwell. I think the only thing that I would eat from there is probably a McFlurry. I don't know if they even do them anymore.
Sure.
I might.
Yeah, I think if you take a lot of pro hormones, then you might make some muscle gains, might look lean, but you still a supercharged idiot. Hey,
That came up earlier this week when we were talking, didn't it? Um, so let's move on to our next supercharged idiot, the J Hall dot brand. You can only build legs with squats.
well, obviously, yes, of course. That makes so much sense. I mean, I don't know where you find these people, Alex, but sometimes there are very few words beyond swear words that can describe a person.
I
I don't
mean,
even understand what the science is there.
I want to see if let's have a look at. Oh, hold on. I would try and go into the comments. I just screenshotted it. Um, let's see if I can go into.
So this is, do you know what I think of? When I see something like this, I think this is one of those things where someone, oh, I cannot believe I've just forgotten the name of it. The curve where it shows the effect of someone when they retain a little bit of information, they learn a little bit of knowledge about a certain thing, and they become stupid, as opposed to when you learn a lot and then you become obviously experienced and you realize that you don't know that much. But to start with, you when you learn a little bit, you think you know a lot, and then you keep moving through. Oh God, can't believe I've forgotten the name of that. What is it?
I've just searched for it again and I've found one that's I quite like this one. Just a kid from Colorado. Unpopular fitness opinion. I don't think this is an unpopular fitness opinion whatsoever. I think this is a very popular one in my book. Stop trying to overcomplicate and reinvent exercises. There's nothing wrong with sticking to the basics. Say it louder. I like that.
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, everybody. I do apologize. Cognitive bias, where individuals with low competence in a particular area overestimate their abilities. Like, so the facts, I guess, the science and the literature would suggest, obviously, yes, with squats, you use your body as a full system and there is a big range of motion and you can rack on a lot of weight. Think you can, if you've obviously learned the skill of squatting, you can back squat a significantly heavier weight than you would be able to lunge, which is in theory a single leg squat. Um, like similar sort of mechanics through the joints. So I get it. You're going to move more weight. I would correlate that across to building top end strength using the full body as a system. Whereas for hypertrophy, yeah, not necessarily. Yeah, building strength, you're going to build a little bit of muscle, but you know, there's so many different ways to skin a cat, isn't there, Alex?
Yeah.
So many different exercises that work those muscles, that build those muscles, different types of rep schemes, so many different ways of doing it. And some people have big legs and never touch squats. Explain that one, I. And also, you can squat every day of your fucking life if you want, but if you eat shit, guys, and you are not getting adequate amounts of protein in, and you're not hitting your calories, you are not going to build surplus amounts of muscle.
We've
As it
we've got a couple of things. Like the guy hasn't come and defended himself. Someone's just put like a questionable face. Then someone else has said this is just wrong. Someone else has said show me your legs.
True, yeah. If he's got huge legs and like, you could argue himself, but it's not true.
And then this is the other thing. So actually, this quite nicely ties into. I was going to finish this episode with a quote from James Clear, um, but this I'll come in with one of them now. He says, at some point, it comes down to who can handle the boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over and over. And yet, if you only ever squat, you will probably build legs to a pretty damn good extent. You become very bloody good at squatting as well. But that doesn't mean to say that nothing else will work. And I mean, what's your assessment of that quote as well, actually, in terms of, you know, it having the ability to tolerate the level of boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over and over. Again, ties into the doing the basics really well and not actually having to overcomplicate the exercise.
Well, there's a couple of things here, Alex. First of all, I'd like to say I don't know who this James Clear guy is, but he's clearly an idiot.
Atomic habit.
I'm only joking, mate. I'm only joking.
My heart skipped a beat, and I was like, what? We're gonna have
No,
to.
I think there's a truth in that, and we've spoken about this before. Like, strength is a skill, and each way in which you can express strength is also a skill. So I could throw a ball, and there's a skill and an art to throwing a ball. I could do a squat. The squat itself is a skill. Like, if you have greater frequency performing or executing an exercise or executing a skill, the likelihood is you're going to get better at it, like you were saying about the squats. Um, I do think also there comes a point in, especially when we're talking about athletes, I think there's a point where everyone will question what they're doing. They'll question, yes, they'll question themselves, but they'll also question, is it worth it? Do they even enjoy it anymore? And I think that's just a natural progression. And I think that's the part where it gets hard. And that's where a lot of people drop out and they stop doing it. And I think that's when it becomes mundane and a little bit boring. And I do think it'll be that way until an athlete may find, you know what? I've got the drive and I've got the desire to keep on going and keep doing this stuff. And some of them won't. So I certainly think there's an element of truth to it. I don't think it has to be the same every day. I don't think it has to be the same lists over and over. But, you know, you get better by doing, you get better at stuff by doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And that's not just fitness, that's everything. Hopefully one day, Alex, me and you will be quite good at doing podcasts.
Well, hopefully one day. I don't know when. I mean, this is one of those things. Like, I'm sure if you pretty much stuck to the same structure, the same kind of training program, again and again and again, and you did the same things all the time, you would get results. But you do need, I think, a little bit of variation. You need to step away from that now and again to get the best results. Not only that, but also to alleviate a level of, I would say, boredom, mental fatigue, and that kind of lethargy with repeating the same processes over and over. Like, and I look at a lot of football teams and sports teams when it comes to this. So if you've got like, it's very rare. I mean, only, unfortunately, Man United won three Premier Leagues in a row on multiple occasions. No one else had ever done it. Then City went and did it, and they managed to break through that barrier and get a fourth. But now they've had that drop off. And the thing is, when you've got the same manager in place and the same coaching staff, and you get into the set, like no matter how much you try and reinvent the way that you do things and you change the drills, you change your kind of structure very slightly. There's so many consistent patterns and habits that you have that everybody else will be picking up on because if you're around people day in, day out, they're going to see what you do, they know how you operate, and you get the same feeling from them, which is where it's then important to kind of change the staff a little bit, rotate through people, bring in other people, add freshness to the group. This is where transfers are really important. And if you had the same group of players all the way through, they will get bored, they will get tired, they will become like maybe even slightly irritated, and the group will start to become a little bit fractious. Like you see it all the time. This is where it's really important to continuously try to refresh things, bring in new faces, bring in new characters, get the right type of personalities working together so that you don't have that fatigue and boredom wearing you down day in, day out, constantly over and over and over. And I think part of that is just being obviously physically fresh and mentally fresh as well. So you do have to have that little bit of variation. But fundamentally, if you follow the same process, if you practice the same things consistently, and I think as long as you're growing and developing and seeing progress, people will make do with that. People will forgive anything as long as you're seeing progress. I think that kind like winning masks everything, doesn't it? And I think that's pretty much the same principle. I think that's the principle I want to try and hit home with on this. As long as you're seeing progress, as long as you're getting results, as long as you're winning by whatever definition you're working by, then you'll be okay. So should we do one more before we finish? Let's have a look. Cardio.
Just to be clear, I do know who James Clear is.
That's very clear now.
I apologize, James.
That's atomically clear. Um, last one, and this is a good one for you with your Ironman training. Cardio can't make you slim. I mean, I think this is where we need more clarity. We need clarification on what people actually mean by these things and this is the problem. Like people throw this shit out there on the internet, and someone's going to read that and go, "Oh, cardio can't make you slim." I heard someone say cardio can't make you slim, but we're not saying that. We're not saying that at all. If you want to be slim, there are multiple different aspects to it. Diet, sleep, training, the way you train, the type of training you do, daily habits. Like that's what's going to have the impact on your body composition. The types of foods that you eat, you're not, I don't know. Why do people say these things? Cardio can't make you slim. ultimately
think
doing more exercise is going to burn more calories, burn excess energy, burn off the fat, and you will see body composition improvements if you're working in a deficit.
yes.
So
However, cardio is designed to build your cardiovascular system, much like strength training is designed to improve your strength. You can do either or, and they will both make you slim if you eat the right way. Your
that's
training really wouldn't need to change no matter what you're doing. It would be your nutrition that you would change if you were trying to lose weight. It can make you slim. Hence why all aerobic athletes are slim. Is it the specific reason why? No.
well, I had this discussion quite a long time ago. I actually did a little bit of not say research, but a little bit of looking into some of this stuff. And it's at the very elite level, the type of training doesn't change the athlete. Like at the very elite level, the sport selects the athlete. So, for instance, in swimming, there is a particular build, there is a particular height, arm span, foot size, webbed feet, whatever the characteristics are that are optimal for swimming. Doesn't matter how much you enjoy swimming or how much you've trained. If you're 5'2" going into the pool against Michael Phelps, you are going to lose. Matter of fact, his body type will win out every single time. As long as as long as that person, obviously Michael Phelps has, but as long as that person who is like 6'5" or whatever has like knows how to swim, they will have the upper hand every single time. And then if you balanced out an equal amount of training, that body type that is 5'2" is going to drop out and is going to have to do a different sport because they are never going to make it as an elite level swimmer. Same thing in what say same thing, probably the same thing in basketball. If you're not over 6 foot, no chance. The closer you are to 7 foot, better chance. American football, position wise, there is a huge impact. Like, and we're seeing now a lot of those kind of collision sport athletes. I think American football, rugby, across various different positions, bar one or two, especially like rugby league as well. The taller the athlete, the bigger the athlete, the faster the athlete, the more chance you have of making it as a successful professional. And then only in sort of like the very intricate skill sports does that body type become less of a determining factor. But certainly in collision, contact sports, huge factor. So the sport selects the athlete. Same thing with biking, cycling, um, any athletics event that you want, muscle fiber type, the genetics of the athlete. If you haven't got the right genetic components, you are not going to make it no matter how hard you train. Because the chances are that someone out there who has got the right genetic components will be training the right way, will be doing the right things, and you ain't ever going to make up that gap because the differences across your training are probably going to be fairly similar. The gains you're going to experience, even if you do things a little bit better, will not jump that genetic gap. That's my that if you want to put that down as shit fitness opinions for this episode, then that is mine. But that's what I've seen, that's what I've observed, and that's my general experience as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I do think there's always occasional freak exceptions.
Name one.
Usain Bolt,
Freak exception one based on what?
totally different body type to what we see as the other people at the top.
What would you say is the body type for an elite sprinter?
Well, generally the majority would be 5'11", 6 foot 6'1", not as tall.
Muscle fiber type, super fast twitch muscle fiber makeup percentage.
Yeah, but he's a lot longer, and he's mechanically, because of him being longer, obviously his acceleration and his start is renowned for being obviously different. However, one of the best.
Do you know what? I will actually give you like I will actually give you that as an outlier. I'm very proud that you actually come up with that because like he is a freak of nature out on his own. Like if you look at his world record times and what he's run, like he's blown everybody else out of the water. Like completely shattered it. No one has, I said shattered then, by the way, just to make that clear. Shattered it. Like he has destroyed the kind of the concept that everybody had of sprinting previously. But in reality, for the next person to come along and beat that time, I think I did something about what would be required for a human to run sub 9 seconds, and I can't. I'm sure I recorded an episode on it a while ago, and if I flick through my notes, I'm sure I'll be able to find it. But
No,
the
we did. We
reality,
also said that of all the people that have run sub 10 seconds, only one of them has not been found to have used some kind of substance, and that's him.
one of them has not been found. That's the.
That's the key there.
I
The
honestly,
key.
that would cripple me if he
What are your thoughts on that?
was that.
I've just finished this. I think he's called Usain Bolt. They wanted to make the Olympics more exciting. It's the 100-meter sprint. Fucking of course. I think they gave him stuff and protected him.
Do you reckon? I mean,
And I think other corporations do that too, but I'm just me. I'm just throwing that idea out there.
the only reason that I don't think that is the case is because of his body type. Because he fits the profile. Like if like I said, the taller you are, the more range you have per step, stride for stride. And then if you can increase your stride frequency to a similar rate of someone who has shorter levers, you are going to be faster. You're going to cover more ground. And that's the only thing that makes me think maybe it is possible. Maybe, just maybe. And the fact that he was so good across the board, I'm mightily impressed. But I would be, I don't lean either way. I'm very much on the fence of do I think he's cheated? Ugh. Do I think he's genuine? Ugh. Same.
Yeah.
It's like
I
50-50.
I hope he's not, but I think it says a lot that everyone else that's run sub 10 seconds has used and at some point been caught. And
Yeah,
it would be interesting and shocking to me to find that the one person that's blown them all out of the water and he's at the top where it's not unheard of to be at the very top and taking some special stuffs.
I think it
Bit
was.
of a downer that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I think it was episode number 112.
Good episode that. Give it a listen.
Can we run any faster? I think that's the one. So if you want to go and have a listen, you can find out how we can become even quicker and run faster than 9 seconds for the 100 meters. Um, yeah, and I think that like the only other thing that I think is maybe it's possibly changed a few people's minds in terms of athletic coaching as to how you might do talent ID or selection for becoming elite sprinter. I think maybe some taller athletes might see that and think, you know what, if I practice, get the mechanics right, and stick to that, like they could develop into something pretty special with that regard. But um, yeah, I think a lot of the time when it comes to sprinting, it tends to be if you're a really, really fast kid and you're at the front from the start and you're an early developer, you have a big advantage. You maintain the training and the practice of sprinting for longer and become better and more efficient at it. And you stay at the forefront rather than necessarily other people kind of catching you up. I'm not 100% sure whether that's directly true, but I'd be interested as to whether um, talent ID for sprinters will change or has changed as a result of what Usain Bolt did. I think there's been a few that have come along since who've been like, when you look at them on the start line, you think, well, he's not that muscular compared to some of the others. And, they're a bit of a slightly slimmer build, but still electric speed, maybe a little rangy, little taller. I think that's a factor. One thing that we do know about sprinters and the best sprinters is they are of a specific ethnicity, which has a very, very useful genetic profile when it comes to being able to run very, very fast. So, again, ask yourself, is he really an outlier or is he just slightly special, but within the same window of this is the profile of what it takes to be very good at sprinting? Should we leave it there? I think we'll leave it there for today. We'll let you ponder that. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you very, very much for listening again, as always. If you've got any questions or if you want to get in touch, please feel free to send us a message. And if you would like to leave us a review, that would be absolutely delightful. As long as it's a good one. We don't want any negative feedback. Anyway, thank you once again for listening. Chris, you got any final thoughts or comments?
No, sir. Peace, love, and protein, everybody.
All right, guys, take care and we will speak to you again soon. Lenko out.